I'm giving somebody the blues today.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today is a dark day for Tekken. I don't make this video with the hopes of shaming the game, making fun of the game, trashing on the game. We did enough of that. I'm just looking at the reality of the situation and realizing how dire it all is. Tekken, it's by no surprise, is doing pretty terribly. The players widely dislike the game. There still is a lot of players out there who's having a fun time, but when you just look at the comment sections and just the online discourse, it's obvious that people are not happy with the current state of the game. It's kind of a tragedy that the developers didn't listen, because the players gave as much feedback as one could throughout the entirety of the first year of testing the tournaments and the demos and also the betas, but then also in the entirety of season 1, players just gave the most vivid and honest feedback they could. And the developers listened to some of it. They enhanced sidestepping. They tried to adjust some characters, like Yoshimitsu got his damage chopped. He still can reach some pretty high numbers though. But largely, generally, when 1,500 changes touched this game, it was obvious that the developers, what they were saying on Twitter, what the players were saying on Twitter, just the whole conversation, it just didn't matter. We got one of the most diabolical updates to touch Tekken ever, and probably even a fighting game. You talk about a fighting game that's somewhat decent and then it gets put way back a little bit. That was one of the most drastic updates definitely of 2025 in all of gaming. People who don't even play Tekken, when the conversation was brought up, they just knew, oh, that was the game that screwed everything. That was the game that released the update and ruined everything. It was kind of like, you know how people talk about like Conquered or some of these other games that was like a failure? Like, you may not even played it, you may not even seen it, but you just hear the name and you're like, oh, that's that game, that sucks. Tekken 8 was that and kind of still is that. And this is why I put so much hope and faith into season 3, not because like I'm trying to be gullible or I'm trying to just blindly believe the words of the developers. I just see how dire it all is and it could get really bad. It's worse, but there is a worse place Tekken could go. Bandai Namco still believes in the property. The developers are still releasing content for the game. They're still putting updates out there, right? There's season 3, even though we don't have all of the details, it looks like it could be exciting. But if they continue to doing what they're doing, it's not going to pan out. Today marks a full 365 days since Tekken 8 sold 1 million copies. This has not happened ever since the lifespan of Tekken 7. Now, the only time this did happen is at the end of Tekken 7. After the pandemic and after all the content was out, Harada said in the news article that Tekken 7 has went on long enough and they basically stopped supporting the game. At that point in time, yeah, the game did slow down and it didn't sell another 1 million copies. But while the game was going and pumping out, season 1, season 2, the game was going bigger, selling more and more copies. All the time you had new people showing up, getting in on the action, getting in on the fun. It was like the peak. It was incredible. The Pakistani arc, Korea versus Japan, it was magnificent. Tekken 7 accomplished so much, and a lot of that is because the pandemic. During the pandemic, Tekken 7 sold 6 million copies. If you wipe that away, the game probably would just have like 7 million, 8 million instead of 12 million, which is still incredible because that 7-8 million puts it on par with like Tekken 5, which I think had 8 million if you don't count Dark Resurrection, which is another 2.5 million sales. Basically what I'm saying is that Tekken 7, especially when you take into consideration how Tekken 7 climbed out of the pit that was Tekken Tag Tournament 2, Harada reiterated that it almost killed the franchise, and Tekken 7 had to climb out of that. It had to put the tournament scene back on the map. It had to make people want to make content for this game. It had to make people want to travel for this game, watch this game, compete for the game. Tekken 7 did wonders in terms of making Tekken 7 mainstream again. Before Tekken 7, it wasn't discussed on Twitter. There wasn't news articles made. I made a news article talking about a blind player who reached Tekken God with Asuka, celebrating their accomplishments. That was picked up and reshared by Dextero. That is something that would not and did not happen before Tekken 7 made it like popular, and all of that popularity and all of that momentum carried over to Tekken 8, and Tekken 8 sold 1 million copies in the first day. Pre-orders, it sold 2 million in the first month. Now after that point in time, This is when Tekken 8 really started to take hold. The developers made so many bad decisions for monetization and also gameplay design. 333 Eddie, Lydia was a mess, attacking mods. The developers immediate, and then also the surprise release of the shop. I hate to retrend all of this ground that we talked about so many times before, but you just see how Tekken 7 built up an empire, and then Tekken 8 just immediately just destroyed it. And ever since, all of season one, from the bad tweets, from the bad decisions, from the bad characters, from the bad balancing, from the delayed balancing, to all of the controversy, 2 years later, we're in deep into the lifespan and players have no faith in the game. Whenever I make a video that's positive about Tekken 8 and I'm just trying to highlight something that's fun, something that's cool, the whole comment section is like, screw this. We don't care about none of that. We don't care about no happiness. We don't care, because people are sick of it. People are tired of it. And this is the most tragic part of it all, is that it didn't need to be this way. The Tekken developers had every opportunity to deliver a product that the hardcore, the pro players, the most try-hard players would love. We understand you need the casual audience and you kind of need to cater to them. But this game has went so far out into left field that no one can agree with it. And then all of the casuals who would enjoy it, they're chased off by the ongoing conversation of balance and the negativity, right? And this is why you see the copies that sold flatline. Now, the people who are playing the game, they're playing it, right? We can see that the player count is still consistent. We can see that this game is still having like 250,000 players weekly. That's a lot, but it's not enough to drum up this huge like excitement for the game. All of the new players that would be flooding in, they're reaching their Steam reviews, which is still mixed. They can see that still that huge review bomb that happened back in April. They can still see all of that stuff, and they're like, nah. How many times have you went to the Steam store or any store to buy a game and you heard it was bad reviews and you was like, nope, I'm just gonna go get this? That's what Tekken 8 is up against. That's what Tekken 8 needs to recover from. With season 3, they have an opportunity, bro. If back to basics really is like what we want it to be, then everything can be fixed. In one, I know Majin Obama said you can't fix the game with one update, but all they need to do is show that they're actually trying to fix the game. And if they do that with season 3, immediately all of the players will flip and they will start loving the game again. Because the reason why players are so angry is because they love the game and they remember what it used to be like, and they are seeing how far in the wrong direction it went. Realizing that Tekken 8 has went a full 365 days without selling a million copies is jaw-dropping. Mortal Kombat, that game's done, it's over, but that game sold 6 million copies very early. Street Fighter, that game had 2 milestones last year. I think it went from like 4 to 5 or something. I don't know where they're at exactly, but I know they posted twice that their game is selling pretty rapidly. Meanwhile, Tekken is all silent. It's a ghost town. And I think they need to lock in and deliver. I believe they can. I have faith in them. I know they're not like completely idiots. Yes, they're not like the best players on the planet, but you don't need to be. They wasn't the best players on the planet when they made this game, that game, did this, did that. So just go back to what works, and then we can see this game grow and become what it could have been. What it could have been is kind of like washed away, right? Like the days when Pokemon was playing Tekken, RDC World was playing Tekken. Maybe that's too out of reach, but you could bring the players back that wants to play the game. All of the people who dropped the game and is playing like Marvel Rivals and Street Fighter, you could bring those guys back with a good update. Hopefully the developers understand the dire situation that they're in right now, and hopefully they lock in for season 3, because when the game was selling a million copies, 2 million copies off the back of Tekken 7, they were bragging and celebrating and throwing their hands in the air, and that's also what fed into their kind of like the arrogance, right? When their game is selling like a million copies, 2 million copies in a month, that's something that Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter didn't do. Of course they're not going to listen. But now that they've been grounded by reality and all of those sales is dried up, all of the goodwill of Tekken 7 is kind of washed away, hopefully they realize, okay, we actually need to do something, and we need to do something well. We need to do something big. And I hope that Kunimitsu and Bob and Roger are fun, balanced, interesting characters. We need to move on from the stances, from the stance slop, from the repetitive gameplay. We need to, rediscover what it means to have a full roster of unique playstyles. This update, I hate to put all of the weight on season 3, but I mean, if they drop season 3 and it doesn't do even half of what we want, there's not many people who's going to want to sit through another year and wait again. It's just like, it's already getting to a point where a lot of people are sick of it. So if they cannot put out a good update now to show something, some value, some reason to hold on, I think the game is probably going to die. We'll probably get a season 4, because the reason them not putting Miguel in season 3 tells me that a season 4 is going to happen no matter what. But after that, if this game isn't right, we know Bandai Namco is quick to pull things, quick to move people around, quick to try to fire employees and push them out and stuff like that. I don't want that to happen for Tekken. This is a legendary franchise. It has legendary characters. It actually means something to a lot of people. But if the developers aren't doing what they're supposed to do, we could care as much as we want, but at the end of the day, it won't matter. Things are getting dire, and I want the developers to understand that they cannot continue to play around the way that they have been. And I think they understand that by going silent on Twitter, by, not doing the Tekken Talks and wasting people's time. That's it. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and bye-bye.